let's talk about season Velma 2.
You first.
So let's go. For those of you who didn't watch Velma season 1, there was a murder. Velma's schoolmates were getting murdered. Their brains were being removed. It wound up being Fred's mother who did it. Sorry, spoiler. But fortunately, the brains were saved, and the girls now live in petri dishes on racks.
Scooters.
Yeah, scooters on racks. Yeah. So now a new serial killer is in town, and I'll be honest with you, I've only seen the first 7 episodes, six and a half episodes. New serial killer in town. The serial killers killing men. They're disemboweling them, especially their midsections. And now Velma has to figure out who did it with the help of of her Scooby gang. I think that's pretty much all this description the show deserves. I'll say this: nothing's changed in terms of my feelings about the show. It's just badly written. I don't laugh, and I'm quite frustrated with the comedy. Let's put it this way: I am very frustrated with the show. The show for me moves at a frantic rate, doesn't let you breathe, and every time I watch an episode, I'm exhausted. And it's just, to me, it's a badly created show. And I resent the fact that they've taken Scooby-Doo and the gang and made a TV show out of it. And so that's my quick feelings about Velma. We could talk more deeply about it, but Paul, you've seen the entire season. What do you think?
So, I'm just going to sit here. No, okay, I'll talk. Yeah. So there's a couple of things. Number one is season 2 is better than season 1. I think season 1 was horrific in terms of how mean it was. That was the main thing that I took away with season 1. It was very, what's the word about being mean to humans? There's a word for that.
Vitriolic? Or
no, there's another bigger word. Smarter word that would have made me seem like really smart. If I could have just remembered the word, I would have been. People would go, "Boy, he's smart."
When you say mean, though, what do you mean?
It was nasty. It was just nasty to humans, and it was nasty to the franchise. But I'm going to get to that, because I think we have now are dealing with a trend where a lot of our favorite shows, the new shows that have come out that purport to be a continuation of the shows, are actually not. They're a completely different show. And now I'm into it now. Star Trek Discovery is not Star Trek. Okay? I mean, full stop. It's not Star Trek. The National Treasure, that TV series, was nothing like National Treasure. It just had the title. So we're now getting a whole bunch of shows that, a lot of the like Star Wars stuff, a lot of the superhero stuff, they're nothing like what they came from. So from my perspective, they're just trading in on the brand, which I'll get to also with Velma. I actually thought that the writing was much funnier, much more consistent, very Family Guy in terms of tone. And if you could divorce yourself from it being a sideways version of Scooby-Doo, I could see that there's an audience for it. So I'm not going to say that it was good. There was a lot of jokes. There's a lot of really horrific commentary. For instance, they just dragged the Catholic. I'm no fan of the Catholic Church, but those were like, okay, clearly they've got a hate on for papists. Like, really, didn't you notice? Like the number.
Yeah, no, compared to how they treated the Wiccans.
Yes, I mean, it was okay. Someone really hates Catholics. That was a little bit too on the nose. Like, you can, fluff around Christian kind of themes and things like that, but someone really had a hate on for the.
Yeah.
And
but it's the easy target. It
took me out of the show because it was so specific. Anyway, so apart from those, there were a lot of jokes that that landed. The problem is, if they didn't have Scooby-Doo to rape and pillage, sorry for using that word, they would have had nothing. That's the offensive part to me, is that I don't know who from the Scooby-Doo crowd are going to be following this. They really should have made a completely different mystery show starring Mindy Kaling and with everything exactly the same. They could have kept everything the same except for the things that kind of alluded to the mystery gang. Fred's mother, but he's not Fred. Call him Brad or whatever. Don't put him in the same outfit. Keep everything the same, and I would say it would actually win a much more interesting show.
Yeah,
because
I mean that you bring up an interesting point. There is, the only reason I get the feeling the only reason people would ever watch a show is because it's called Velma from the Scooby-Doo.
Correct.
And this is the trend where you take something that people know about and then just reinvent it, leaving very little semblance of
Correct.
and it feels like it's false advertising at this point.
Yeah, it's bait and switch. It's the movie with the Marvel movie with the Mysterio guy, whatever the friggin' name is, where then it turned into a Scarlet Witch movie.
Right.
And you go, what? So this trend is horrible, but I can also understand on the part of Warner Brothers saying, well, we should. I mean, people love Scooby-Doo. It's got 1 billion people who love it. Why not use that? But again, look at what happened to National Treasure. Everyone knows what National Treasure is, and they created a TV show that was nothing like it.
Right.
And then people went, wait, this isn't National Treasure. How many people are tuning into Velma and going, well, this really isn't Scooby-Doo, both from a family-friendly perspective, because it's really, it's really on the edge. Yeah. But if they had started that from scratch, just the way it is, I think they would have had a much better show. And just from a comedy writing perspective, there were way more decent jokes in season 2 than in season 1. Just from a technical perspective. Pardon me, what?
Do you remember any of those jokes?
I just remember my feelings from.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm big fan of Airplane, and I remember jokes from Airplane.
Sure.
And because they were so set up so well. This one, I'm so frustrated. I didn't laugh. I didn't like the jokes, and I can't even tell you a joke. And I'll tell you, there's badly written. That's a given, but the delivery is just as bad, because a lot of times what I find in new comedy, in Gen Z millennial comedy, is that there is no joke. They're more willing to say, make an odd comment make an odd observation about life. And so they'll say a line, they'll make this weird observation, and then they'll go right into the next line, which means which the big thing is what I found with this series constantly is that they would do their joke, and then they would keep going. Yeah. If the joke were good, you should pause for a second and let the joke breathe, let it ruminate in the mind. It's one of those jokes that you get a few seconds after, and you pause and you let the joke kind of envelop in your mind, and then you laugh. But they don't give you time to do that, and by not giving you time to laugh at the joke, it's as if the joke was never told, because now my brain is moving on to the rest of the story.
I think that was a good observation. They had, so for instance, if you take a look at King of the Hill, they would deliver a joke and then keep it going in conversation and letting each character with their own perspective riff on it. So you got more jokes out of the one premise. Here, you would genuinely get a laugh when you see the girl's brains now on a skateboard.
Right.
And there would be some kind of thing, they would bump into someone, but then that was it. It was just this frenetic pace of one-off jokes all the way through it. But I'm still saying that some of those jokes were still funny, but to me, but I completely agree with you. They just couldn't get off the crack cocaine. Let it rest. Like, have other people get involved in the joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the one-offs, like constant one-off.
Right. Like everyone's dressing up like Daphne and Velma.
Right. Or Velma will deliver a fourth wall kind of joke to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
If only he wasn't black or something.
Yeah.
And then that would be it. That would be the end of the joke.
Well, and that's another version of Gen Z millennial comedy that bothers me. And I'll go to She-Hulk as the example of this.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that you have a character who says something outlandish, says something maybe a little bit misogynistic or a little bit racist, and then the character of She-Hulk will turn to the camera and say, "Well, that was misogynistic," or "Well, that was racist." Racist much, and that's comedy. It's commenting on what someone just said and saying, "Hey, that's wrong, right?"
Isn't that a Rick and Morty style?
Fortunately, I've never seen that show.
Okay.
And this is, going back to this idea is comedy dead? Part of it is it's the main reason it's dying is people don't know how to tell a joke anymore. People don't know Hollywood doesn't know what's funny anymore. They think, it's the idea of if we put a diverse cast up there, the entire world will see this. If we just, point out each night that Donald Trump is a racist, that's good enough. And this to me is why we're not getting the comedies that we had, and that the only good comedies are coming from people who actually study it, who actually want to make people.
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Once the new generation takes over, all this stuff you're not finding funny, they will continue to find funny, so it's comedy.
I get where you're going, but at the same time, it's like when you go on the internet and someone says that Madam Web was the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made.
Right.
Well, you haven't seen the original Spider-Man movies. This is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Well, you haven't heard really good jokes from long ago. You haven't heard Carlin. You haven't heard.
Well, okay, so let's say, but the latest Gen Z or Gen Alpha person is then going to compare Carlin to vaudeville.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's way too vaudeville.
Yeah, but you could still claim vaudeville's funny.
No, you can't.
You can't.
It's not.
Well, you could claim that let's just say there's a lot of bad comedy out there that exists in the universe, and the ones we remember are the good ones. there's good vaudeville, but yeah, the majority of vaudeville is not good.
But you're right. There's nothing from this show. Put it this way: I find a lot of the new comedy more atmospheric,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to anything specific. Naked Gun, or the Police Squad, the TV show that eventually became Naked Gun. There's a ton of things that we remember,
mm-hmm.
like the tall guy that was outside of camera frame,
eating a banana.
Where there's just tons of stuff like that. So Velma, my main point is, and I'm putting my network hat on, is that there was more things that solidified it as a thing, a cohesive thing,
mm-hmm.
than the first season. It felt more of a thing that I'm going, it's not my audience, it's not for me. I don't get a whole shit ton of it, but I can see that it has its own internal coherent logic and world. Now, is there an audience for that particular world? As a network head, that would be my only concern.
So would
not
you
even
have
if it's funny or not? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So let me ask you this: let's just say you strip away the Scooby-Doo and you look at Velma for what it is, for the stories it's telling and the characters it have, would you have greenlit this show?
The second season, probably yes. The first season, no. The second season really did have some interesting stuff in it, including the Fred's, dead mother ghost.
Yeah.
That was worked in really quite well, but it didn't have to be Fred. Like I said, it could have been Ed.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, this is my feeling.
Oh, and of course, you know who the bad guy is. That was terrible. That wouldn't have worked. You know who the bad guy is, right?
I didn't see that.
Away?
Yeah, give it away because I'm not.
Scrappy Doo.
Really?
Yeah,
that's the bad guy.
That's the bad guy.
Okay.
All right. And that was awful. Like, really? I mean, this is where they butchered the legacy of the series. That ultimately they decided that they did not have the guts to make their own thing, and they needed to play off of this beloved series. That's my biggest offense was that. Like, I don't know why Warner Brothers let them do it.
Yeah. This is okay. So I'll say this about comedy today, and I will use the word progressive. Progressive comedy today is actually regressive. Progressive comedy. This comedy has not evolved comedy. It has devolved.
You're talking about in terms of Velma.
In terms of Velma, and I think in general as well. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah, that, and I'm finding this to be true with a lot of art, a lot of film, a lot of television. That progressivism hasn't progressed the art form; it's regressed it.
Well, because they're deconstructionists.
Mm-hmm.
They think deconstructing is funny.
Yes. Yeah, and the problem is it's easy to deconstruct something, but it's not easy to figure out why it was funny in the first place.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, the classic example recently is the movie Wish. They wanted to pay homage to Walt Disney with Wish. They went back to the classics of Disney and tried to replicate that the hand-drawn feeling, the colors, the painting colors, the characters. The problem was they had no clue why that was so magical, why Disney could create a magical movie, and that not only captured an audience but built an entire company. And when they went and did Wish, they had no clue what they were doing, and they thought by just making it look like a Walt Disney movie, which they did horribly, was enough to capture the nostalgia of fans and to build a new fan base, and failed miserably. And I think comedy today is the same way. We forgot what is funny. We forgot why we laugh and how comedians can trigger laughter, deeply felt laughter within the masses.
I agree, and comedy has a lot of similarity to nerd culture, and Disney and his crew of individuals, I would say, would be the nerds of their time, and they were really excited about the multi-plane camera.
Mm-hmm.
All these things were things that they thought about. I never saw Wish, but I've seen other recent Disney movies. I don't get the sense of nerd culture at Disney.
Yeah, it's weird. I'll also say this: the best CG live action movie is Jurassic Park, and it was the first CG live action movie. It's the idea of this art form should be evolving, and we can't figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, okay. Well, we abuse it. Jurassic Park, the first one was brilliant, but again, we've become more cynical as an audience, and I think, depending on our age, we are less able to absorb and suspend our disbelief when we see something magical. Star Wars, I saw that live in 1977, 76, 77. And when the Star Destroyer came over top of our heads, it was like a massive gasp. What a great way to start a movie. Wow.
Well, even a few seconds before that, the John Williams score.
Yes.
I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of, there are great composers out there, but I don't know anyone who even comes close to John Williams.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I mean, that music takes you to the Shire every time. Like, bang. I mean,
okay, I'll give you that one.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, I'll give you
and
that.
what a wonderful opening. I mean, it's a different opening, but to just
Mm-hmm.
the camera pulls through the Shire, you see the people, and then you see Gandalf on his cart and he's smoking his pipe. And what a genteel opening that just then opens up a bit and more and more. It doesn't take long actually to get the riders coming after you. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say this about Star Wars though, and John Williams, the fact that every character had a theme, and we know those themes, and we hum those themes.
Yep. No, I completely agree with you. But again, these are people who are film nerds, who love the craft, and I'm not. And just seeing Mustafa, the trailer, Mufasa, sorry, Mustafa. That's the Arab version. Mufasa. What a horrific intro to that movie. There's just nobody there who knows what they're doing.
I know, because you could have literally just recut the Lion King trailer, and you have the Mufasa trailer.
See, I think they would have been better off to do Scar and find out why he turned into such an evil bugger. That would have been way more interesting a movie.
Yeah. Well, the other thing for that one, I have no idea what the story is, and because I don't know what the story is, I don't care.
Yeah.